some very unusual things are starting to take place that are a little bit unprecedented. Basically, all the measuring stations for the Schumann frequencies, they all dropped out globally. Right before they blew out, there was a massive amplitude, in the signals that overrode, I guess, what their calibration's able to deal with. So all of them fell out.
Dr. Zelenko became a household name when he developed his world-famous Zelenko protocol. To make sure that everybody had access to his immune-boosting formula, he created Z-Stack, my family's immune-boosting supplement of choice. Along with Z-Detox, Z-Flu, and Z-Shield, Z-Stack has helped countless families stay healthy and protected. With every purchase of Dr. Zelenko's products, you also support the Zelenko Freedom Foundation in their tireless work to promote and reinstate medical freedom for all. Click the link down below, use coupon code INSPIRE to save, and protect your family today. It's your favorite guest, our favorite guest, Frank Jacob. Thank you so much for joining us again today. You don't need any further introduction, my friend.
How you doing, John? It feels like it's been an eternity, but it's only been about 6 weeks since we last talked.
Frank, we're going to dive into a subject today that might explain a lot of inexplicable things, and that is time travel. And of course, through the looking glass conversations that we've had, we've touched on this subject many times, but we're going to go really deep today. But before we do that, Frank, what's going on with our planet and why are people feeling so intensely right now?
It's very interesting because it's like we're entering a new solar cycle. And as a result of that solar cycle, some very unusual things are starting to take place that are a little bit unprecedented. Basically, all the measuring stations for the Schumann frequencies, they all dropped out globally. They just hit a peak.
They dropped out. They quit working.
They quit working. It's like they were blown out. And right before they blew out, there was a massive amplitude, in the signals that overrode, I guess, what their calibration's able to deal with. So all of them fell out. Then the magnetometer that HeartMath runs, that measures the magnetosphere of the Earth, that fell out as well. And there was a solar storm. I guess you could say this must have been tied together because all these things were happening simultaneously. There was a solar storm that hit us, and the winds reached a speed of 3 million kilometers per hour, if you can imagine that, right? It's like, and there's a scale for it. We can look at a couple of these data, and that shows you that it just reaches over the peak level of recording and drops out completely, disappears, and it shows up again later again. But there's this period of time where it's gone. And, I don't know if you noticed it in where you are, but in Ohio, for example, or in Ireland, or in Germany, in like Western Germany, they had Aurora Borealis. But it only happens when the ionosphere is supercharged, of course, then it does happen. And that happens super rarely, right? So you couple that together with other stuff that we've talked about before, like the magnetosphere of the Earth is weakening. And so we're moving into a period of a new solar cycle. The Earth's magnetic sphere is weakening, and we're entering a zone in the galaxy where we're in direct line of fire with, particles and waves that we normally don't get hit by. So the fact that we're in that zone and that our magnetosphere is weakened means we're getting more of that. We're feeling more of that. So it's no surprise that people have been getting like headaches and some people, feel heart murmurs and, heart tremors and stuff. And some people get tired and they just can't get up. In my case, I had a bit of that too. Like I was really feeling like, I don't know what it was. I don't normally get sick, or rarely, and I just felt like low energy, and I felt mentally in a weird state. I don't know how you felt, but man, I felt like I had times where I was going like, maybe I should just quit. This is why bother. This is that. There's all these other great people out there. Nobody needs us anyway, right? So I was like, all this stuff was going on in my head. I'm like, wait a minute, where's that coming from, right? Meanwhile, the sun is entering a pole flip. So right now, in its phase of when it enters this new cycle, it's not just like usually it just flips. What's happening right now, there's something called a quadrupole, a very rare phenomenon when the sun hasn't quite flipped and there's 4 poles, 2 north poles and 2 south poles. And when that happens, the sun just flips out and sends all kinds of energy from it, right? So we've got all this stuff going on, all this energy is coming at us. Meanwhile, remember we talked about this pole moving, the magnetic North Pole moving back a few shows ago, and we were saying, look, what does that mean?
Certainly do.
And that, in March or April, we're looking at, if it continues along that path, it's going to reach this 40-degree mark, right? Well, guess what? We've reached the 40-degree mark, John. So it's anyone's guess what'll happen now, right? So, and then to cap it all off nicely, CERN decided to restart their experiments because there's been a few geophysicists that are talking about the peak time of when this massive flux of energy is going to hit us. You can use the Schumann frequencies measurement as a way to gauge potential earthquake activity. And if we had these Schumann frequency measuring stations in more places around the world, they're like an early warning system, because what happens is that one particular frequency, like the main band of the Schumann frequencies is 8 hertz, has to do with the circumference of the Earth. But there's also subharmonics, like there's 14 hertz, 20 hertz, 33 hertz, 39 hertz, etc. But this one band, like they're called the second and third modes, right? The second and third modes, when they start going higher than the primary mode, which is 8 hertz, there's usually some kind of an earthquake. And the Turkey earthquake that happened at the beginning of the month coincides perfectly with that model.
When you look at the news cycles, everything that's coming out now, it is at such an accelerated rate compared to 5, 6, 7 years ago, even 3 years ago. And we need to connect the dots here and really see it all coincides. And there's really no stepping out of it. It's not solely human ego behavior. It's very much influenced by what is happening in the greater sphere of things. So I think it's very important. What we're going to dive into is real-life time travelers, firsthand accounts, potential technologies, what has, could, or is being done in time manipulation or history manipulation to manipulate the present. Where do we start on this subject?
I'm going to play you this clip and he'll make it all clear to us. Okay, here we go.